Where do I find the information on that?
We will share it during our conversation in the chat interface.
Oh, sure. So I'm not on the channel yet. So the reason I'm attracted to this conversation is because you're going to be probably looking at it from a slightly different perspective than what I'm used to. My, our research concerns public policy and, the systems part of it, and not so much the platform design and how that design is having an effect on it. Whereas I got interested in design because I started working as a Bangalore, and I found that my experiences were tremendously shaped by the app. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Anyway, that's about it. Yeah.
Nice to have you, Sachin.
Thank you.
We have 2 more minutes to officially start the session. Before that, I have just posted our YouTube live link. I think we are live on the YouTube now. So if it is working, it's the first time we are going live.
Hello.
Hi, Rahat.
Hi, Rahat. Achha, Tanya, could you also share the link?
Sorry?
The Google Slides. Can you share the Google Slides here on the Zoom?
Yeah, hopefully I won't have a power cut. But yeah.
I will do that in any case if it goes up. I will share it here.
Okay, yeah.
Rad, nice to see your face.
Yes.
That's
Finally.
good that you have been live. Okay, so I will send you the email. I mean everything. I did not do that because of some other job. So I will do it separately. And thanks for the invitation. It was a really great one. I think it will be.
Rahat, from where have you purchased your speakers and webcam?
Yeah.
So
yes. Finally.
Yes.
Finally, I got these things.
Great. Yeah. So, is it working for you, or should I do that?
Sorry?
Are you able to share the Google Slide link?
Let me just check.
Chandra, I think you need to rejoin, I think. Is everyone able to hear? So guys, today would be a little bit unstructured in our way how we want to go forward with this clinics. Hopefully, we will have more structure in the coming weeks. And we have 4 presentations as of right now. We plan to have 5 today, but let's hope. You could go into first slide. Can you right now share the control to me?
Sorry?
So I'm requesting for remote control. I'm requesting for remote control. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you give me?
I need to give you access. Just give me a second.
You must have got a prompt from my side.
Yeah.
So what we are thinking today, guys, that we will have this Google slide, one Google slide where all the presentations are there, and whosoever is going to present can ask for the remote control, and we pass it on to that person, and they could go through the slides. And the purpose of having Google slide as one, it become a repository. Anyone could go back to the slide. The email ID would be there. The idea would be there. And you would know about him, and someone could understand his or her idea in just 5 minutes by going through the slides and contact that particular.
Ask again.
Yeah.
You request access again.
Yeah. Now I have.
Hey folks, do we get started? I'm ready to start whenever.
Yeah.
Are we waiting for more people to join us?
Yeah.
No, we are just figuring out this thing. It is not working, I think. Yeah, it's working, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I am able to control. Nice. Yeah, awesome. So for Chandra, Ananya, have Ananya joined? So we have Chandra, Ananya, Arpit, and Onik. So what you guys can do, you could go to the top of your screen. You might see in the Zoom view options on the middle of it. Click on it, go to request for remote control, and the control would be in your hands, and you could change your slide as per your own direction.
Okay.
We shall start. And is YouTube live link working?
Just working with a bit delay. Yeah, but it's working.
Should we record also in that case?
I think we are recording two here. I mean, two sessions. I mean, Tanya and me are recording, right? You can record there if you want. We are recording actually here.
Okay, Tanya, could you just check the permissions because I've embedded a video in my presentation.
Hello.
Yeah,
And
I'm not able to open that video.
no worries, let me just check my Gmail. Hopefully, you should have access. Did you send the request for permission?
No, I haven't. Do you want me to?
Yeah, can you do that? Then I think you'll be able to play it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't anticipate this.
No, it's fine.
So guys, we should start. I think we are already 3:34 and the slides and
I've requested
yes,
access.
you could,
Okay.
should I start?
Sorry?
Yeah, we could start now, and I will add.
All right, great. Yeah. Hi guys. Firstly, we are recording this session. Obviously, we've been discussing a lot about recording, so I'm sure you got the gist of it. So I hope you all are okay with that. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first ever HCI and Design Mentorship Clinic. And we hope that this session runs smoothly and we inspire more researchers to share and get the help that they require. For those of you who don't know, the HCI and Design Mentorship Clinic is something that our chapter has come up with very recently to encourage early researchers to put forward their ideas, through a 10 to 15 minute session. Post this, the audience can ask questions and provide feedback. This could also allow mentors to direct students towards certain resources or also allow others to approach the researcher for collaboration. We hope that this session will be fruitful for all. And as I said, this is open to all. So if you would like to present at our next HCI clinic, then please fill in the form. The link to the form is on our Zoom chat interface. We also would like to encourage, a mentor-mentee sort of relationship. So if you are interested in the same, then please fill in our form. Again, it's in the chat interface, and we will try and connect you to the mentors, different mentors, so that you have access to a lot of resources. A few housekeeping rules. We request everyone to go on mute when the other person is speaking or presenting. Please keep the questions towards the end of the session. You can type in your questions in the chat, and if you would like to ask a question yourself, then you can just we'll direct it towards you, and then you can ask them yourself, or you could ask us to ask them to the presenter as well. I think the presenters would love and appreciate feedback, not just questions. So please feel free to type in your feedback as well. We have also started a Google group for mailing purposes, and we already have a Slack channel for more than emails. So the links for the same have been shared by Shreya on the Zoom chat interface. Great. So let's get started. Pranjal, is there something that you want to add? Or
Yeah. So that you guys would be putting down your feedback and questions on the chat interface. We would be moderating and putting back into a Google Doc. And the intent is also that whatever questions and feedback you guys are asking, we would be putting those feedback and questions back to the Find a HCI Mentor Excel sheet, so that whosoever is commenting today, we will write down that XYZ person asked this thing from the mentee, so that it becomes a repository for everyone, and also for the mentee to know what uh, today other people have shared their experience or shared about the work itself. This we will try to do, and most probably we would love the mentors to put the name in the Finder HCI mentor Excel sheet, because in coming days we will have that structure that these are the mentors, these are the mentees, and the collaboration could happen in much more structured manner. Right now, and the purpose of these webinars is to give you first hand experience of sharing your idea. It might not be, it must be half baked. It might be half baked, or you must be in a very initial phase. But it might give you a little bit confidence because it's a safe place. Consider here we are not saying that you are wrong, you are copying this, or you're doing something wrong, but to make it a open collaborative space. And if anyone wants to collaborate, and don't be hesitant to share whatever you know. There is nothing wrong or right. We are in together, and hopefully with this thought, we shall kick off. Hopefully Ananya has also joined us. Not yet, I think.
Ananya has joined. Yeah.
But it's, my connection is very, very poor because I had a power outage at my place and I'm connecting through mobile. So I would request if you could just, instead of me, if you could change the slides, because my slides might take much longer if I start loading the video. That will be helpful for me. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right then. I think let's get started with Chandra. Let me just introduce Chandra. So Chandrasekhar is a master's candidate at Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology in Bangalore. His research focuses on the emergent or next billion users in learning more about and creating products for people who are coming online and using digital technology for the first time. He is currently an intern at Obvious, a Bangalore-based design consultancy. So welcome, Chandra. Thank you for volunteering to be first. And yep, let me just share my screen.
There is one more request that a couple of people are not able to hear the voice. Is that the problem with everyone, or is a couple of you are facing the problem? Is everyone able to hear, right?
Yeah, the audio is good for me.
I am.
It's fine for me.
Yes, it's good. We can hear.
So for those who are not able to
Thanks.
listen, please rejoin. I think there must be some. Yeah, fine, it's working. Thank you.
Right. Have you shared your screen, Tanya, or should I share mine?
I have shared my screen. Can you not see it?
One, let me see that. Okay, I can't see it. Oh, got it. Thank you. I'll just quickly request control. Thanks, Tanya, for the lovely introduction. Let me just figure out how to use this. So how do I request control of this?
Go to top. You might see view option.
View option. Found it. Yeah, this is fantastic. I've sent the request. Okay. I can. So I'll just quickly start it. Hi. Okay. So how do I do this?
Go to the present view, and then full screen will be there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. It's not responding me. Oh God. Sorry for the little technical hiccups. So how exactly does this work? I'm trying to move my mouse around, but it isn't working. 1 minute. Okay, I think there's a lag. So Tanya, I'm sorry. Could you just I'll just stop remote control. Could you just change the slides for me instead?
Sure.
Yeah.
You could go to present view.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks. I'm Sir Tanya Chandra, and in this, I'm doing for my capstone project that's ready. Next. Tanya, could you switch slides, please? Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about the background of the project I'm working on. So the platform, I'm sure you all are aware of the platforms currently that exist, right? Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy, and so on, right? And in this context, we use the word platform to refer to business models that create digital marketplaces. And transactions are done over this marketplace between individuals and organizations, right? And there are many different kinds of platforms. So some deal with services that can be done from anywhere, like Fiverr or Upwork, which are for freelance white-collar services. Some are location-based, which are tasks done by people in the physical world, such as Uber or Swiggy, which provide either transportation or food delivery services. Now, in India, an estimated 56% of new employment is being generated by these platform companies across the workforce. Many of these new employees fall under a contractor status as opposed to being permanent employees. One big criticism of this is that it erodes existing protections and benefits that more formal employees can get, and this creates a new precarious class of workers. Further, in India, these platforms have come under criticism for creating bad working conditions for their employees, with issues such as overwork and for relatively less pay. So, next slide, Tanya. My argument is that platform technologies and digital marketplaces represent an entirely new kind of career path for millions of people in India, with the promise of the ability of workers to dictate their own schedule and have more control of their own time, right? At least nominally. However, my question is that, is this truly the case, right? In my research so far, I have conducted some face-to-face interviews with workers across the spectrum, across transportation, across delivery, and some insights kept cropping up. One is that there is a lack of trust between the worker and the system. They feel the system is exploitative. They feel that the incentive structures are rigged against them. Then the second and most interesting is that they feel shortchanged by current financial systems. So how financial products are normally designed, like equated monthly installments for loans, is that they assume that the recipient or borrower earns a fixed amount of money per month, and that he would repay a fixed amount. Out of that, he'd repay a fixed amount every month, right? And so one major pain point that I kept encountering was that these workers would not receive loans from banks or other financial institutions because of the lack of a salary slip or a fixed monthly income. So, and finally, India has been under lockdown for something approximately the last 60 days due to the current ongoing COVID-19 epidemic. So the workers I have been talking to have been badly affected by it because they don't have any safety net. They're not receiving any work, and so there are many problems that have emerged. How I wanted to define this was create a system of prompts and toolkits for stakeholders within the system to use to speculate on possible future products and services. That what might be better or more equitable configurations? What might a better outcome look like in the future? Can you, next slide, please? So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about one activity I did as part of this project that's currently ongoing. This is what I call a product experiment, a dummy application, which I test with people as a probe or not a solution, but as a vehicle to gather knowledge about a particular scenario. Next slide, please. Okay, I understand.
So, sorry, Tanya just had a power cut. And so, Chandra, can you directly share from your own system? I think Tanya has lost the power and she's not there now.
Oh, no worries. Sure. Let me quickly do that. In from my system, that's because that gives me more flexibility. Yeah, I'm loading up the prototypes. See it instead of the video I was planning to play. Sure. So how do I? Okay, I can't share my screen while another person's screen sharing. Pranjal, if you could the meeting host do something?
Can you see the screen now?
No, I can't share my screen because Tanya's
No.
screen
Can you
sharing
see
is
my screen now?
on, right? 1 second. I cannot see your screen, Pranjal.
Pranjal, still Tanya's screen is on share.
Okay.
Maybe you can just, if you're the host, you can stop sharing the screen for all. Are you the host or who is the host?
I have the host option.
Okay, if you're the host, then on the top of the screen where you're seeing you are viewing someone's screen, next to that you'll see view options. You stop it, and then whosoever wants to share, they can share the screen.
Yes, the screen has been stopped right now.
Yeah.
Chandra, you could share your screen now.
Okay, great. Okay, let me see. This Money Dose is the first in a series of product experiments with my target audience, not just gig workers, but also designers, researchers, executives who work within the space. So I'm just going to quickly load up my prototype so you folks know what I'm talking about. So this is the screen of a dummy mobile application with the functionality of identifier. The function this is supposed to serve as kind of a financial repository for all these users, that they see all their earnings and spendings in one place so that they can keep track of it better, and that they're able to see the current status of the debt they have accumulated. So they can see that they've got so much amount remaining on their loan, so much time remaining on the loan, and the date of the next payment and how much it is. They're able to edit the amount per month, and that changes the time remaining. Right. And so the purpose of this system is twofold. I wanted to use this as a prompt to understand loan habits. So my hypothesis was that the people I show this to would be able to understand the idea of a flexible loan and either find it useful or not useful, and use it as a prompt to start a conversation. That would this be helpful to you? Is this how do you normally repay your loans? What is the process by which you decide you have to take a loan? And here's what I found so far. The gig worker participants did not understand the concept. I'm not sure as to they found it hard to. So my hypothesis as to why he did not understand the concept was due to the fact that the loan was not presented in the way that they are used to. they don't normally look at the outgoing status of their loans. Instead, they have an automatic deduction from their account every month. The other stakeholders who have shown it to included a researcher who worked for a mobility for a gig working for one of these platforms, and a fintech entrepreneur. He viewed it as not useful or impractical because in their experience, the loans didn't really affect the behavior of the gig worker. Another point that was given was that there were technical constraints, that the infrastructure to work with loans, to slice them, to address them doesn't exist. So my project is still in progress. I have to make a lot of changes. What I wanted to do is use from this experiment as an input to conduct more such experiments, used it and maybe gain more insights into the financial habits of gig workers and the practices of the platforms, use the results of these as an input into the design of the participatory tools, and finally write up my findings. And here are some of my references. And I'm done. So if you folks have any questions.
So we have one question from Saurabh.
Yeah.
Saurabh Suman. He's asking, can we know more examples of gig workers?
Sure. So there are many different. So what a gig worker essentially is so how a gig worker is defined, right? Is that he's defined in opposition to traditional systems of employment. So when we think about these workers, they're paid per gig, that is per task or project. They can either provide the labor or they can provide goods that they've made. And the work that they do can act as a supplement to their traditional employment or as a replacement for employment, right? The second thing about the workers is that there is usually a platform or a middleman that facilitates transactions, schedules the work that they do, handles the process of payments, and also creates a profile, rating, and reviews for them. Now the biggest employees, the biggest and most prominent gig work that we know today are the transport infrastructures, so such as Uber, Ola, or then micro-mobility or hyperlocal transport such as Rapido, which is a scooter-based taxi, then Porter, which is a system of trucks on demand. The second most common are what are called food delivery, where the workers are directed by the application to pick up food from restaurants and deliver it to consumers. The two major startups in India that do this are Swiggy and Zomato. And finally, odd jobs or housework. The major startup in India that does this is called Urban Company and HomeJoy. Any other questions?
We have one more question from Soumya.
Yeah.
How did you decide to conduct this particular experiment? What were your data points and how did you arrive at the hypothesis?
Sure. Sure. I'll talk about how I decided to conduct. So I wanted to design some participatory tools, like a participating game or activity. Fortunately, not been possible to get all the gig workers to get everyone in one place due to the lockdown and COVID. Instead I moved from that, and I had the idea of creating mock products and recording the reactions to that as a proxy instead. The second, so that's how so that's why I decided to conduct this experiment. So my data points, so I've not included in my presentation my prior iterations of research, which were face-to-face interviews done in the field before the lockdown started. But in those interviews, I spoke to the workers and I asked them questions such as, Or how has your experience in the platform been so far? Tell me about one day in your life. What sort of tasks do you do? Do you have a bank account? How are you paid? Are you able to save every month, etc., etc.? Then, and can you please elaborate on your objective? So, my objective is to create tools that other designers and researchers can use to create products for the gig economy. So in a sense, I want to develop more probes, right? So I understand my research is a little meta. I'm creating and deploying probes, and the output of that would be more probes. I hope I'm making that clear.
I think so, yeah. So Anupriya has a question for you. Thanks for the presentation. So I think you have elaborated on your objective again. You have elaborated on your objective, but if you could elaborate again, and like you are aiming to develop probes or solution. So yeah, people who might have joined late, could you explain them again your objective? What are you aiming to develop?
Uh, the research questions I've been asking,
I think we think we are losing you. We are not able to have a clear voice from your end. Sorry, today is a bad day. We are not having a smooth sessions. Chandra, are you there? I think we have lost him due to something. So I think we should move on. I think Chandra is not there. Yeah, I think he is lost. Yeah. So moving on to the next person, to the Ananya. Ananya, can you also, in the meantime, while I'm introducing you, can you share your screen, or we have to do it for you, right? You told us.
Yeah, I'm joining from mobile and it might be very unstable. There's a power cut at my place, so it would be really nice if you could share.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Great.
One sec. So, Ananya is an interaction and service designer. She is currently working in Frog Design. She did a master's in service design from Politecnico di Milano, if I can pronounce it properly, then Ananya.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
So is your screen?
Yeah, your screen is visible right now.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, over to you, Ananya, and looking forward to your presentation. We are already running behind, I think. We took another half an hour to finish one presentation. And sorry for the experience which is happening right now, but hopefully from now onwards we will be fine. Yeah. And let me know when to move forward.
Are you going to present it or shall I just go like this? I'm fine either way.
Yeah. Give me clues when you want move next. Let me know. I will.
Okay, sure. Hi everyone, I'm Ananya. I joined today to this initiative because I mostly come from a very much industry oriented background. I wanted to shift my career from more industry towards a PhD position in near future. Thus, I'm working on a few sustainability related PhD proposals, and one of them is very close to submit. So I thought, because I have no background in doing research in a PhD level, so I thought it would be wonderful to get some ideas and some feedback regarding the methodologies which I'm using. So that's the whole intention of me today coming here. It's in a very early stage, and right now what I have is only more of a secondary research and a lot of literature review based on which I am forming my research hypothesis and plans. So I'm going to take you through, and since it is in a very early phase, I am open to all kind of feedback, as well as please help me out in understanding the methodologies, or point out if there are certain methodologies which could be. Next slide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, no, yes. You want to share something?
Devanuj here. So two things. Maybe we have not looked at the chat. The one thing is to save time, we can come to the questions quickly. And second, is Saurabh is asking, can we present in full screen?
Is it better now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it full screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so the problem which I am trying to address here is that how can social cultural factor can influence the sustainability narrative for the users. So these are the basic sub questions of this bigger problem, which is that how can we understand whether a narrative is working or under development or in place, which stakeholders needs to participate in designing the sustainability narrative, and who are the narrators who's gonna take this narrative and kind of popularize amongst everyone. So what is a narrative here? A cultural narrative could be something like, for example, all of you must have known about flight shaming. So the people who are flying abroad and taking a foreign vacation is essentially increasing a lot of carbon footprint. So a lot of Nordic countries come up with this flight shaming thing, so that people start making more train vacation, like making vacation with trains rather than taking flights and all. So this is a sustainable narrative, and it was popularized by the social group, by the friends, by the Instagram celebrities and all. One of the example of the narration could be how European Union government is trying to push one day veggie meal, where they are asking people to join to give up give up meat for one day. But again, these kind of narratives are very much depending on the how the user's gonna behave. It's more of a behavioral choice. So it's something which you cannot push through, but you have to speculate the cultural and the social background for the users to act all by themselves. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes. The next slide is.
I hope my voice is clear, because
Yes.
I am not sure about how stable my connection is.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Can you go to the next slide? I'm still seeing the previous slide.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to go to the background or the methodology part?
No.
You can go to the background also. I almost covered the background, but I can still a little bit elaborate if I missed any point.
Yeah, we are on the background slide.
It didn't change for me.
So I can see what is your problem. This is the slide.
Yeah, even I can see that. What is your problem slide? Yeah.
I am able to change.
But we cannot see it.
Nice. I will reshare.
Okay.
Now, can you see the slides?
Yeah.
What is the background of the project? Yeah.
Yes. So the project background is in 3 layers. One is that we all know that sustainability is something which is related to your consumptional pattern. And then consumptional pattern is something which is deep down rooted in your cultural and behavioral aspect. And and after that, this culture and behavioral aspect can be actually influenced by the narrative of a particular concept. So the keywords for this kind of research is mostly speculative design, narrative research, sustainability, culture, or kind of doing interdisciplinary research to understand the connection between behavior, culture, sustainability, and also do some analysis to draw some scientific conclusion when we are picking up a sample user for conducting the research activity. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes, we are on the next slide.
Yeah, so these are the part where so this is the methodology part I try to figure out by studying different papers, but this is something I would really look forward to get some advice on from the people who are already doing speculative research or narrative research. I thought of starting with the primary research, and then once certain amount of primary research is also done, then move towards the qualitative research, and then understand the narrative, then reevaluate the emerging narrative and testify the narrative in the end as a result. So I will elaborate them a little bit more in the next slide. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
So first, to understand the research question, we have to look into the current narratives being used in the society through literature review and the gray literature review as well. This should also include uh, this would also include understanding the storylines emerging relation between food system and sustainability. After this research is done, then there has to be a primary research and quantitative research to establish linkage between sustainability and consumption pattern, and this will be useful to define samples. For example, for say in Bangalore, I am trying to look for people who uses only for example, when they're shopping, they're not using any plastic bags, or consciously making a choice not to buy some equipment which has plastic. So basically, based on consumption pattern, we have to first understand different types of user. So once we do that, then we come to the step 3, where we're gonna perform the qualitative research from those identified research groups to understand what is influencing their lifestyle choices and analyze the different concept of sustainable economy. So I have taken 2 of them as the method. One is that role of values and culture or social media that is helping them to make certain food or consumption pattern, and their visions for sustainable food habit and lifestyle. So what do they understand about sustainable food habit? Do they really understand? Do they have certain kind of knowledge about it or not? Go to the next slide.
Yes, we are on the next slide.
Yeah. So from this, we would basically understand those narratives, point A and B, which is emerging. And the concept which could be used is a framework proposed by Ren. Uh, it's a part of a research paper which was published in 2019. Then reevaluate the emerging narratives and bring into the user group through the narrators. So for example, if I am it's a very high level example just to give a more concrete idea about what am I talking about here, that probably sometimes you need to redesign a narrative. For example, instead of saying that you should not fly abroad because it's gonna fly, instead of flight shaming, you could tell people to explore natural local beauty. For example, like we have a narrative called Incredible India. Before you go abroad and view, why don't you explore India's view, right? And so this kind of, if we could understand what is actually why a person is acting to a narrative in a positively or negatively, then we could take the positive part of the narration and understand and redefine the narrative. Once we do that, then we have to find the proper stakeholders who could actually give it out in the public and start popularizing the narrative. A narrative can be form of a visual, narrative can be form of a song, a narrative can be form of a social message. Even Incredible India is a narrative. So in that way, what it's gonna do, it's basically kind of finding those stakeholders. To popularize Incredible India, you need government stakeholders. probably to popularize using local food, you probably need to bring Sanjeev Kapoor and tell them that, and tell them to kind of popularize that narrative. Even if you see current political scenario, even our government is trying to push the go local kind of initiative. So one of the example of food narrative that kind of influenced a lot of people to make a sustainable food choice in a Nordic country was that new Nordic cuisine. So it was popularized by government, local government, as well as a number of famous chefs to prepare foods that's gonna be using local ingredient as well as seasonal ingredients. And at the end of the day, it is actually promoting sustainability. So uh, basically, these are the kind of experiments can be done. After that, this is create, translate, drive, and observe is basically the method of checking whether a narrative is working or not. So I would say this is the part where I am a little bit confused that what could be the end result. Is it kind of a discussion, or is it a framework, or it could be some scientific result? Because so far I understood narrative research, it is not clearly a scientific way of giving numbers at the end of the research part. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this is the same thing which is I have already speak through all of the slides. So we can just skip this slide to keep it. Yeah. And yeah, as I already mentioned in the beginning of it, I am looking forward to opt for a full-time PhD position where I can apply the knowledge of sustainability as well as apply the knowledge of service design to basically start my PhD. And yeah, I'm open to feedback now.
So would Anupriya tell us, comment on this?
Anupriya, would you like to ask directly that she's asking that
Yeah.
is your
Yeah, hi Ananya. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, and your problem statement is quite intriguing. The only first question which I had in my mind, you didn't specify the context. You were talking about Nordic countries, and then you brought in India and examples of Indian narratives. But it was not clear to me. Like, will you be doing this work for Indian context, or do you have some other context, or are you planning to do a comparative analysis? That was not clear to me.
Right. So Anupriya, I'm targeting multiple positions right now. Few of them are based in Singapore, few of them are based in Nordic countries. So basically I am trying to set a framework for both of them and could basically do the sample study and probably, tone it down the approach based on like the first phase when I'm trying to understand what kind of narratives are already existing in the society. That's when it will definitely take two different route. So it depends on the proposals I'm writing to which university.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that was the thing which now makes more sense of your presentation once you have clarified that. So I have not worked in this domain like for narratives exactly. But the another question which I was asking, since you're writing proposal, and what I believe you have digged into certain literature on this. So in your knowledge, did you come across any framework or any kind of work, existing work, like where people have already studied or compared narratives?
I have found a number of studies around it. One of it was about a very interesting paper about just give me a second, I'll pull that paper and tell you the name. Sustainable food culture. And there was another, I'll actually write all these papers down when I go to the next phase two of, I mean, I don't know if we're taking it forward to any of the mentors, so I could do that more. So there was a research by Leah Mayan that established that eating happy depends on not only a geographical area, but it's a social, cultural, religious decision. There was a very interesting paper about when food system needs sustainability, current narratives, and implications for actions. as well as there was a report published by European Union, which talks about how what are the initiatives governments are taking, and there it is quite clearly mentioned that what are the parts they are unable to crack because of there is a socio-cultural impact there. Which is being unaddressed. I mean, that's what I was talking about. That if you ask your people to go local, not necessarily everyone's gonna go local. So, what is the narrative to be there? Who are the people who's gonna narrate that story to make it more useful?
Right. So my only comment would be here is that, like you just mentioned, you build on the existing literature to clarify, like from where you are coming up with this problem, right? From where you identified this problem. If you go that way when you are presenting your work, I think that would bring more clarity to the audience who are listening, or maybe to the reader who would be reading your proposal. That is one comment, which, like, the second comment I can share with you. As far as the methodology you are seeking feedback on, I personally believe that your methodology would vary as per your findings in your first phase. So it's good to keep on pondering on that, but at the same time, you'll have to be very flexible about it and keep your doors open. That is what I can share from my end in my experience right now. But I'm open to give you feedback later in the future if you reach me out.
Yeah,
I hope this was helpful.
I would be. Yeah, that will be very helpful. Actually, I'm writing the proposal, and it does have like around 60 to 70 citations I have mentioned there. But it's not possible to bring in everything in a small presentation. I just wanted to
Yeah.
bounce the idea and so that I can discuss in later with someone, any of you who is willing to mentor and give me more direction. That will be wonderful.
Thank you.
So, yeah. May I ask a question, Ananya?
Sure.
So,
Any other question there?
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, please. Go ahead.
So, you are talking about narrative research. In your literature, have you, have you studied about the basic foundations of around narratives? What what narratives mean, and what are the complexities related to narratives? So, because narrative is essentially a very, very, very complex thing. So do you know of any foundational understanding of what is a narrative? So let me give you a small example. So when Indian Bollywood movies go abroad and people see, like the hero and heroine dancing around the trees, and people get very uncomfortable. What it is? So when the urban class or educated class looks at movies in such a way, and they kind of make fun of it. But when the tier 2, tier 3 people look at that, they throw coins. So why these ways of three ways of depicting something, expressing something, expressing, like expressing a feeling or something, why it generates three reactions when it is a given, when it is a given that Indian play and Indian theater has used, music and dance as an important part of storytelling. So if these three things are, three kind of people are reacting in three different ways, then there is something inside people's mind. And of course this is narrative because it's a narrative of cinema. So that is why I'm suggesting, or rather I would, before suggesting, I would ask, have you read about some foundation about what narratives and how they work and what are the complexities?
Yes, Devanush, I have done that, understanding narrative on, but I did not go in very deep. Like I only did like 2 to 3 papers, and there was one paper about how when food system met sustainability, current narratives and implications in action. These actually give the almost a similar context what I was looking for. But I would really suggest, if you have some suggestions about which paper I should refer to, please give me that. I will
So
definitely
you
look
have
into it.
to delve into social science research, especially philosophy. So for me, there is this social philosopher called Foucault, who talks about the narratives and the power structure. Then you have Derrida and who else? So I'm not much aware of the other names, but at least if you understand, because this about people using trains instead of aeroplanes, instead of flight, that did not become in vogue in the US. In Europe it is because Europe has had a long culture of the green narratives, and why it is so, one has to find out. I mean, I also don't know why Europe is so environment sensitive, whereas the US is not. And I would suggest look at the basic, because otherwise it will uh, is likely to remain a very generic understand of, okay, this is what people think, this happens, because governments push these narratives in different parts of worlds. But why do they become successful in, of course, which is your research question, what are the mechanisms through which they become successful in one community and not other, and you bring socio-cultural in it, so that becomes more important.
Yes, so as I was saying, if I have done the basic research of understanding, but I would be really, it would be really helpful if you give me
So
some links to
you have to do
dive
a
deeper.
little textbook understand of narratives as a
Okay.
foundation. No, the basic
Okay.
narratives 101 kind of thing.
Do you have any specific book or a paper or
I
any?
can try to find.
Yeah.
I myself
One
am not
person
much
has
into
shared,
narratives.
Dallin Becker has shared that the good name is about John Clendenin, is a big name in narrative inquiry in Canada.
Type it
So,
out.
yeah, we'll share that thing. So what I'm also doing, we are collecting all the feedback and putting in the Excel sheet. Find an HCI mentor. So that means that all the feedback we are putting there itself in Excel sheet, and the mentee could go back, or mentors could go back and write more about that person. I will share the Excel link here again for you guys. So the next question, Anupriya, is that so Anupriya is saying that if that you could think about different mode of narrative that will have more impact, even if the content is same, that too could be a thread to explore. And
Yeah,
Rahat,
hi Pranjal. I can share that. So just dwelling on what the feedback she was being given was that I was just wondering, different medium of narratives like video, audio versus poster would have different impact, right? Even if the content and theme is same. So that could be also one of the theme to see how people react. Depending upon the cultural context they are in, right? So this is just one personal observation. It has no data backed, but I personally feel that in Indian context, if you have a Bollywood movie that that has more widespread impact on connecting with people, or maybe advertisement versus poster. That's just my personal biased opinion. That could be really wrong. So I'm just giving you one example that could also be one thread to explore. How different modes also are dependent on the cultural context where your stakeholders are situated. Just thinking out loud.
Rahat, would you like to ask the question directly, or Ananya, you want to respond to that?
So, so I have actually put some reference for narrative research. So I think there is a good research paper on um, narrative research. So I think Anurna can go through it, and it will help her, I mean, to understand all kinds of complexities or something like that, as Devanu said. So yeah. So I just put the links there. I think she will get it.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rahat, Anupriya, and Devanuj. Is there any other question or feedback you guys want to give me? Anyone else? Hello?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time as well.
Just to make one.
So
A great presentation, yeah. Both of the presentations. Yeah.
hopefully if the mentors or anyone else, if they have more feedback, then they can write to Ananya. Ananya, is that okay?
Yeah, of course. That would be very, very helpful.
And then could you also write down your email ID on the Google slide?
Yeah,
This is
sure. I'll
of
do
the
that.
Google
I'll do
slide
that
with
right. Yeah, it is missing. I'll do that.
Tanya, we could move on to next presenter.
Sure. Pranjal, would you like to introduce? I'm not able to open.
Okay. Arpit Parush is a Shishti alumni. He did his master's in design, human-centered design course. He has worked with Moondraft and currently working on an interesting project on understanding the behavior and the notion of home. And for the same, he's here to present his idea and how to move on. Over to you, Arpit, and you could also start sharing your screen.
Is I'm audible?
Yes, Arpit.
Yeah. Great. Hello, everyone. The thing is, we were thinking about the same, like why a user behaves the way they behave. It has given us the idea, like in the current situation. Hello.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Presenting, could you go to the full screen?
Yeah.
Go to the present and.
So basically, we have started thinking like why user behaves the way they behave. It's a question that has arisen, and it has given us a thing like due to certain triggers, the person or the human behaves and take decisions. This is how we have formed our research question in the time of crisis. How the notion of home drives the decision we make in the time of crisis is the line of inquiry which we are exploring. So what is home? We have defined it, and to define this definition, we have taken a small survey. So it's by a chatbot where we have posed some of the questions like what is the mean of home for you, and what is the mean in today's condition, and how you make the decision. These are some of the questions we have posted, and then we found this is what the definition has been posed by those people. So for that, we have posed this questions to 10 users. So according to that, the definition is a home is a shared emotional space of living where an individual shares different emotions within the family. These emotions in the time of crisis act as a trigger for making certain decisions. And this decision could be in the form of purchase behavior, so the family will not suffer much in the crisis moment. This might be one of the motivation to do it. And the second thing is individual living away from the family might be thinking of going back home because of emotional challenges such as fear of family and insecurity in the crisis moment. The decision we are making in the context of COVID-19 changes with different individual contexts. These contexts in the crisis movement could be defined in 3 states. So a person who is at home would be taking certain decisions very differently, and a person who is not at home right now and he has a wish that I could be there. If I would be there, then it would be very helpful for me. And what would be the reaction of the society after reaching at the home is also the third state. So, wait, how to change it? This is the slide. Yeah. So this is our problem statement, how the notion of home drives the decision we make in the time of crisis. And this we are still struggling what should be our methodology for the research, but some of the things what we are trying to understand is trying to explore is like maybe by the use of survey we could form certain imaginative scenarios and post and try to find out what people will react to those scenarios. And then after that, if we have after collecting the data, we could set up a call or maybe via chat to do a research, further research. So in those research, we could find why you have said in this way. So to understand why they have said the certain things, and then we have to form a validation research. But still we are struggling, like, because in this movement we don't know how should we plan for it. So some of the evidence we could see is the most essential part of design is philosophy of design. And from the past evidence, what we have seen from different media channels, that even these migrant workers such as are just moving. So that is also because of certain kind of a behavior. So these decisions we have taken just because of the behavior, and we want to understand the why of it. And our hypothesis is, if we could understand the psychological need of the user, then we might have taken much better decision, and then this research could help for future pandemic situation according to Indian context by developing a broader level of framework. It's still in the very open, and we just want like how we should take it further and what should be our plan. If that would be very helpful for us. Yeah, I'm done with it.
Thank you, Arpit.
Hey,
Yeah.
I think I have 1 or 2 points related to this. I saw behavioral economics in the first slide. So interestingly, I was reading another book recently, which is about identity economics, and it essentially talks about people essentially always being in certain social category. For example, when they are at home, they are particularly, family is the social category that they belong to, and then there's a role that they already have, and then there's an ideal and a norm. So you're expected to be something, and then there's an ideal, what you want to be, etc. So I think that is one of the things that could also be looked into, because that seems really interesting, because you have actually multiple roles at home when you're working from home, especially, right? You're an employee as well as you're a family member. So how does that essentially balance out?
Yeah.
And apart from that, when you're talking about methodologies, I think rather than just surveys, maybe contextual inquiry might be helpful. I think Devanaj would be able to add more to it, perhaps.
Thank you, Saurabh. So one thing, Arpit.
Yeah, sir.
So one thing is there, like, so you can knowingly or unknowingly jane unjane, you can reach to some assumptions very quickly, which may look very good. Oh, kya baat humne kahi hai, so good. Okay, sorry, I'm switching into Hindi, sorry. So you, which may look very fascinating to you, but then you may. So when you say the idea of home, the idea of home is again, as I was telling earlier also, it's not, things are not that simple. Idea is home is inside your mind, and your mind is a function of you, you in the sense of where you grew up, how you see the world, your complete whole. Okay, so it had to be work a little more. What is your idea of home? And to be able to work it in a better way, you have to get in outside HCI and more into social science literature, in terms of, as Saurabh said, are things about identity and what is norm and what is ideal, what kind of face we want to show, and what is the kind of face we are forced to keep.
Okay.
These complex things will come up. Now coming to contextual inquiry, your contextual inquiry will be as good as your ability to interpret, and your ability to interpret will come from these important lenses, these important perspectives. Okay?
Yeah.
These important perspectives, for example, like if you do not think much about identity, who am I, like I have multiple identities, and in some situation I force one my identity, in some situation I force another identity. If you don't think in terms of identity, how will your interpretation about something related to home will come forth?
Yeah.
Let us take an example. Okay, let us take a very 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 trivial and very sort of funny example. You're washing utensils, and suddenly
Yeah.
your boss calls up and said, I asked you to complete that task. What happens suddenly? What happens now? You suddenly see that your identity, the home identity is now it is being pulled in another direction. I mean, these
Yeah.
are questions, but these questions have to come first, and or those will come first only when you see these different lenses.
Yeah.
And these lenses will come if you get outside HCI and get into into this kind of literature.
Okay, sir.
Hmm?
Yeah.
So
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 I, what
please
should
read
I
more.
read? Like, what should
You
I
should
read? One is
you,
identity. One book is
no.
identity.
So
Yeah.
it is not about what should I read now. So you
Yeah.
should keep on reading. So it is not that one day you said this I should read. So this capability is developed over the years. So you should
Yeah.
be interested in things beyond HCI.
Yeah.
So it is not that you can say today, oh, I read this, I read it and come back. No, you cannot. It is overall capabilities.
At the
So
same
get
time,
into.
at the same time, I also think like right now is an amazing time to actually gather a lot of data related to work from home, because given the past certain weeks and months, a lot of people are working from home, and the
Yeah.
more recent the data is, the more real it would be. And I think just going on and collecting a lot of data at this point would also be very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Um, Hi, Arpit. First of
Hi.
all, thanks, Devanuj, for sharing that particular example of washing utensil and your boss calling, because that just intrigued me to ask certain more questions, which I will dwell into in few seconds. First of all, Arpit, thank you for your presentation. The topic is quite intriguing. But what I feel is that right now you are approaching this topic at a very abstract and very broad way.
Yeah.
And like Devanuj mentioned, that there is not only just single standalone parameter home. There are other parameters like identity being one. Then there could be gender. Then there could be age. Then there could be other parameters like your experiences at home, because people might not have good experiences at home. Like people might have domestic violence, abuses, which will change their perception of home, right?
Yeah.
So. And then socioeconomic status is also one thing. So one thing which I was saying, the easy way to go about it would be narrowing down to particular group of stakeholders. Like, who is your stakeholders? Are you studying migrants? Are you studying upper middle class people who work in MNCs but are now forced to work from home? In this particular case, it would be really interesting to see how their notion of home has changed from what it was earlier, and now they are
Yeah.
being forced to work from home. And just like Devanuj mentioned, their perception of home would have changed because their identities will clash now, right? And
Yeah.
already the concept of home is not seen from a single lens. So that is quite interesting, but for that I think you have to narrow down to a particular case or context and study that, and then you can extend. Okay, this is the findings from this particular context of maybe a group of people who work at MNC, who have a particular lifestyle, are now forced to live differently, a very different lifestyle, and how their notion has changed. And we have certain findings, and then you can learn from that findings and take it to a different set of stakeholders, and then after a longitudinal study you'll be in a position to come up with a framework which you are trying to achieve, right? That's how I look at this problem in the current form. The second, what I think, like identity, you can look into the lens of intersectionality, because that looks at intersection of different identity parameters like age, gender, identity as a subjective parameter. So that could be somewhere to read about it and start. But I think the very first step should be, narrowing down your problem. And
So
like,
so we have thought like should we are still confused. So there are two age groups that what we were thinking about. A person who is 25 year to 30. He's a very early starter to his career. His things would be very different. And second is the person who is from 32 to somewhere around 38, 40, who is married and his responsibility is much more. But we are not able to make like where should we intervene? What should be our demographic?
sorry, what should be? I didn't understand. What should be?
Demographics.
Demographics. I think for that, you have to. So again, when you say now that we are looking at this age, then I would ask you, okay, you are looking at this particular age group and particular status, that married or not, family dynamics, and age. These are only two parameters you are looking at it. There are other parameters also. What about is the person belonging to a upper middle class family? Is the person belonging to a low socioeconomic dynamics? Like, those are other parameters also you have to think, and you have to brainstorm it, right? Like this is something you'll have to read a lot of literature on, or maybe read some case studies on it, like how people are being affected, or something like that. Maybe Devanoj could be a better person to answer this.
I think what he's also asking is how does he narrow down the scope of all of these parameters? Since there are so many parameters, how does he narrow down like who do I basically go ahead and research?
So one thing is, like, if I would do this kind of study, so I would not narrow down in the first case, because I might be restricting myself from so many things. I would try to find if there are any interesting patterns, because essentially, if for me a qualitative study is a study which should generate something insightful, not try to confirm which is already there. So in my case, my pilot would try to do a general thing and try to understand patterns. And in order to understand patterns, in order to get insight, is to look at the trivial data. Trivial data means the things which you tend to not see. Small utterance, small thing which you may think, somebody said, for example, if you ask me, I would say, when I visit my students in Bangalore, I feel very at home with them. And you may miss this data, but this is so important, because then my students' shared apartments becomes another home for me, and this is so insightful. I don't know what is so much might be lying behind it. And suddenly when I look at this, then all this your identity, norms, worldview, this all things start coming, and then we can go and find in literature. So when you already decide this is my demographics, you have already limited yourself. So I say, let the pattern come up. Let's see, okay, if there are important categories which are emerging, and then you can see, like, if I can put any predefined demographic overlay on it. For example, I will talk from my experience. We were doing a small project for some kind of Swiggy for housewives, where women could cook at home, and this youngsters, the youngsters, working youngsters could order. And suddenly we found that the women from lower class, for them it was a necessity, because they were thinking of in terms of augmenting their income. The middle class women who are in their late 40s and whose children had already grown up, they were past the responsibilities. For them it was more of self identity, कि बेटा मैं भी ये बना सकती हूँ, अरे कैसा लगा तुम्हें, how sorry again Hindi, so how did you find it, I make this pani puri, and how did you, so it was more like showcasing what they could. And this was suddenly a new kind of category which was emerging for us, which did not do. And so later we found it is upper class or middle class, but this new categories first emerged, and then we try to fit it with existing categories. So this is my suggestion.
Okay, sir.
I completely agree with Devanuj. Maybe I think I did not articulate it well. So what I meant to is, like in the example which he said, that the one he just mentioned, he started at least with scoping down to a level where he knows that I will be reaching out to women, right? And which category of women, that was not confined, but I'll be reaching out to women through maybe online platform. And if I'm reaching out to a particular group of people through online platform, that automatically to some extent filters out a lot of people who cannot access, or you do not have access to online platforms, right? So when I said that you have to narrow down, it was more from a perspective that you could pick at least or fix at least one parameter, right? And then explore the trend within that parameter. And as rightly mentioned by him, there would be trends which you are not expecting, and that will help you to further refine your problem. But yeah, I completely agree that for preliminary study or preliminary contextual study, you should go with an open mind. But I think fixing one parameter would help. What do you think, Devanuj? Because in my experience, just going out and without fixing any parameter would be tricky or not.
See,
That's something I'm asking.
For me, it is more like a grounded theory approach, in the sense, like the initial studies are fast and quick. As the parameters, as the patterns become concrete, I also make it more elaborate, more guided. Yeah,
Right.
like I put more and more conditions, but initially I
Right.
go quick and fast. So this is what I do as a design process, but that gets reflected in my research process as well.
Right.
So a series of increasingly concrete studies.
Right, so we can start. This is because I am also in a learning phase. That's why I'm just trying to understand. So that approach makes sense. Like fixing for at least like starting or getting started with one study, fixing one parameters works, and then we can go with another study where we fix other parameter to see the trend. Do you agree?
No, it is not like that. It is more like first try to identify what parameters may be hiding, what is important for me. So not really getting so for your first study could be just with 5 people in a like 1-day study, and just come and quick see if there are interesting things emerging which I would like to pursue. And then as you go forward, then see, oh, this needs to be fixed, this needs to fix. So that comes later. But in my case, in the way I do is I don't start with any just a major scope of the thing, what I'm going to do, and a few anchor points. That's it.
Okay. So my question is, how do you identify those 5 people, right? Because those 5. So from my understanding is like, at least, okay, even at a more broader level, if I have to start, like first distinction I have to make is urban setting versus rural setting, and then I can dwell into it later. But if I'm not even making that distinction, then choosing that 5 people, how would I just choose those 5 people?
Yes,
That's
of
the question.
course, there I may have erred a little. So that kind of thing of course happens, because you give a you keep a broad scope, because so even before you start, you have an should I say intuitive understanding? Yes. The only thing that intuitive understanding you have
Right.
to bring it out, because somewhere you feel, no, I'm not going to Tumkur and try to 30
Right.
kilometers
Right.
away and trying to.
Yeah.
So somewhere I'm that that intuitive link, I think
Right.
maybe I
Okay,
No, no,
just
we
no.
to
have
That's
add
missed.
to it,
Yeah.
that even the decision could be something that could be scoped down, right? Like there are so many decisions that anyone can make, but
right.
you could perhaps
Yeah.
decide on what kinds of decisions are you trying to think about. If it's going to be purchase decisions, then perhaps you could scope it down to something. I mean, it can go ahead from there at least.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That at least
Yeah.
we have to fix one point, and then we can, derive the tree out of it. But how to, like, at what level you are defining that point is up to you as a researcher to define your scope. And as Devanuj said, starting with the broader view always helps you because it gives you more depth and understanding of the area you are studying. So both of them has pros and cons of their own.
So one good thing is to write your research title very well. So I mean, write your research
Yeah.
title. It tells a lot of things.
Yeah, that I agree. Actually, across three presentation, which I personally feel that even me, when I make presentation, I fumble up and commit mistakes. So the rule of thumb should be you should be very clear about your context, about your stakeholders, and your title should give a glimpse of what you are trying to do, because that engages the audience. Because the moment someone loses on these three pillars, it becomes difficult to reconnect to what you are saying. It's just something which I've learned a very hard way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So,
And
in the interest of time, we will have to move on to our final presenter. Maybe we could continue this as an informal chat post our final presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Onik, in the meantime, could you start sharing your screen? And also, Alas Khan has put up one point in the chat, which was related to this presentation.
Oh.
If you Alas, you want to bring that point now, or shall we do that later?
Hello. Yes, the Devanuj and the other miss is talking
Anupriya.
about the Anupriya ma'am is talking about the what should be the initiative point, and what I'm thinking is the work from home aspect can be the initiative point from the starting point of the notion of a home. Can it be the Devanuj?
Yeah. Mm, uh, I
Like
think so.
you,
I think so because somewhere you have to initiate and from.
Devon, shall we take this question later after Onik?
Sure. We
Yeah.
can. Yeah, sure.
So, Onik, you could make your presentation full screen. And Onik Shah is currently working with Dr. Nova Ahmed, North South University, and Dr. Shamin Ahmed, Western Washington University. He's working on autism project. His research area is in HCI and mobile health domain. Over to you, Onik.
I shared my screen, so is it visible to everyone?
I
Hello?
think this
It's loading.
Yeah, we can.
It is visible, Anik.
Yes. Sure. So, hello, I am Anik Shah, currently working with Dr. Nohamed, Dr. Ahmed, and Dr. Sharmi Ahmed on autism project about 3 years. So, I am doing qualitative research since 2017. My research area around eyes and mobile health domain. So we are now working on understanding the educational landscape of children with autism in Bangladesh. About 17 crore people are in Bangladesh, and here 17 in 10,000 children are autistic. So this is a huge number. Also, there is insufficient research in this domain in Bangladesh. No technical support in Bengali language. So they are the most socially backward population. From our social liability, we started working on it. One of my advisors says we need to do something that can significantly help the society. We started this research from a class project in our undergraduation time with my two friends under Dr. Nubah Ahmed. We wanted to build a learning application where everything is culturally relevant with us. Actually, there are many applications, but in other languages, mainly in English. Also, the context that they used is not familiar in our country. So we decided to build a application that will be our own. Everything will be in Bangladeshi perspective. So we started to collect content of our own. We visited our national zoo to took a snap of lion, deer, monkey, etc. So after building the application, we started testing and had a very good review from the users, and they also wanted some changes, and we did that. So here is the so here you see the content. Everything is in Bangladeshi perspective. So and everything is written in also in Bengali. So are you hearing me? Is it clear to you?
Yes, Anik.
Sure. Thank you. So here is our research objective. Our primary objective was to understand current context of autism in educational settings in Bangladesh through lenses of special school teachers, and secondary was how ICT can support this teacher in the role as educators. So here is the methodology part. Uh, uh, After that part, we started collaboration with Dr. Shamim Ahmed, who also started research on autism personnel. With them, we planned to study some school. So we started qualitative research. We took 20 special teachers interview from 4 different schools. There were 29th question on teachers interview script. Average interview time was 66 minutes. After finishing the interview, we started qualitative coding. We used atlas.ti for the coding. So we have found 51 codes regarding the research. So here is our findings from the study. So we found that there is a huge communication gap between the special school teachers and parents. Some of them thinks parents are not provide much effort as teachers do, and vice versa. So here I include some quotes regarding the here I include some quotes regarding this findings. So another one, second findings was teacher don't have adequate knowledge about how to handle special children and how to teach them efficiently. So maximum of them gain skill from practical knowledge. So third one is most of the teachers struggled very much to adopt the job. They get a very poor salary to maintain their livelihood. Uh, Fourthly, also teachers don't have proper training, but training is very helpful for the uh, teachers to be skilled. Also, some school don't give any incentives for the training. And the fifth one is there is no technical support for teachers, but most of the teachers said students like visual things very much. Also, there are some problem with inexclusive classroom. On this, one participant said that mainstream school do not want to take special students. So in conclusion, we came to this point that we find that technology can fix this alone. So both of them, the teachers and the guardian need trustworthiness. Also, they wanted to us some transparency in communication. Both of them need to do their work and collaborate for the work and for the maximum development of the students. Teacher and parents. Secondly, teacher and parents both talking is both training is very helpful for their skill. Everyone need to join every training as much as they can for the development of the special students. Thirdly, for maximum development, need more inclusive study. In Bangladesh, the inclusive study context is not up to date. So, fourthly, society still saw autism as a stigma. That's why some parents don't want to share that their child have some autism spectrum disorder problem. To overcome this problem, we need more awareness in our society. And what to do next? We planned and started studying on Guardian because we want to see the context with both teacher and guardian's eye. Want to introduce a system that can recover the problems. Thank you. So anybody have any question regarding this?
Thank you, Onik.
Thank you.
Anupriya, you want to say something?
Yes, I'm very curious and excited at the same time because mental health and related topic is very close to my heart. I started my research from there only. First of all, thank you so much, Anik, for presenting this work. One question is, have you published this work somewhere recently?
Yeah. We published
ICTD?
another one. Yes.
In ICTD?
Yeah. No.
Awesome. No, not in ICTD?
No.
Okay.
No, we present no ICT we do not accept on ICT, but we accepted it on iConference actually.
Okay, good. Because I've seen recently a lot of work coming from autism from Bangladesh. So I was just wondering, okay, so one another question is the schools which you studied, was it part of urban Bangladesh or rural Bangladesh? That is one question I wanted to ask you.
No. All of the school is urban in urban part.
Urban Bangladesh. And what is the access, like technological penetration? Like, do they have access to computers, or are they using any technological aid right now?
No. Some of them have access of computers, but they don't use any technical things.
Okay. So what I have understood is now you want to carry forward this work from the perspective of caregivers, which is like family members and the teachers, right? That's what you're planning to do. Okay, so do you have any vague idea of like what are you going to do? Carry out another contextual understanding, develop a deeper understanding of their needs and requirements, or are you going to with designing a solution? Do you have a clarity there? Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Nova. Yeah, I want to
Hi,
jump
Nova.
in. Yeah, hi. So, hello. Yes, actually, what we found out that the misunderstanding is growing. I mean, parents and teachers, although they want the same output, there is a miscommunication going on. So what we are thinking about is more about co-designing or sitting with both of them, something in that line. But it's not concrete yet because of the current lockdown. We are also slowed down, but it's very interesting to see how parents are impacted during this lockdown period. So yes, we are also exploring that area. Thank you.
Yeah, actually that was something which I was about to say, that we can explore, like basically you guys can explore co-designing as a tool, but again then the question is, given this current scenario, how to engage in co-design. That is a challenge.
Yes, not at this moment, but this is a good time to understand, because the families are together. Most of the time it's on the mom, it's on the mother who is taking more care of it. So it will be interesting to see the new dynamics, how things are coming out.
So what I think, like from I have carried out a similar research back in India, very basic research on the role of informal caregivers, which is family members of people suffering with schizophrenia. And there what we realized is, whenever we use this word like caregiver, usually there is informal caregiver, there is only one person in the family who is responsible for the person suffering from schizophrenia. And that person not necessarily would be a parent, it could be a sibling, or it could be a second relative. So it would be interesting to see the role of secondary or tertiary informal caregiver, and how they play in this whole dynamics of family, because we know, like usually we know there is this one person who maps to that particular stakeholder we are studying, but how in the case of lockdown, like what is the involvement of other family members or close relatives, and how their involvement is, whether impacting positively or negatively, and using that we can use those inferences in designing technological intervention, right? Because there is already lack of support groups. I'm talking from my learnings from India, and I can think we can draw some parallelism out there.
Sure. I mean, we would love to see your paper. If you have, please do share it with us. And also, I mean, we can imagine that when we have a person who needs special care, because even in a house where everybody's perfectly fine, we still have this dynamics because we were not used to being together for so long. So yes, it's a very new area.
And it would be interesting how the power dynamics have changed, like I'm just thinking out loud, like if it used to be just the mother at home taking care of the child, and now suddenly there's this father and patriarch.
Now our younger daughter got so empowered because she fixes the internet and all the Zoom meetings. I mean, I mean, it's the power dynamics shifts rapidly, like who is doing what. I can see that.
So that would be nice. And there are a couple of papers I've seen. Like there's a couple of paper in ICTD and maybe Compass. I'm not sure about the venue, but I've recently seen a lot of work on autism from Bangladesh. Which I think you would love to refer to. In one such paper, they have used post-colonial HCI lens to view that. That is one paper I remember.
That
vaguely.
Is so difficult. Yes.
Yeah. But that was a nuanced perspective, which I saw researchers using it. So that could be also one thing if you could see. I'll definitely share the link of my papers if that could be of any help for you to draw parallels.
Sure.
Yeah,
thank you.
Awesome research, I would just say.
Thank you very much.
And also, I'm sorry on eating up your time for presentation.
No. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. Have you any question?
So, Devanoj, if we do not have any other question
I only have the same single track, like thing is that whatever is the phenomena, let us not forget about the seemingly hidden reasons behind them. So, for example, if a teacher does not know what autism is. So it is a simple fact, but that fact has so many hidden layers. Like why why so why this is a question that uh, she should know about it. If we assume that she should know about it, and then we have to see why that is not happening. So is, for example, let me peel it a little further.
Yeah.
So mental health in a lot of places in the world is supposed to be okay. Like, leave mental health. See, stomach related ailments is something to be dealt at home. So you don't consider it to be serious enough to be taken to a doctor. So there it connects to the Ananya's work. What are the narratives around mental health? How does, how do we perceive it, and what are the narratives essentially? What are the narratives? So why the teacher did not know about autism, or why do we expect her to know? That is a question
Yes.
worth asking. And once we ask, then these hidden layers come up.
Yeah.
So this
Yes,
will
and
be
I
my...
mean, these parents are paying more. It's a private school, so they have better expectation. But this is not a gradual thing, and it's not culturally adapted. Like people, I mean, the schools are following probably some Western syllabus, and things like they're using blocks and tiles for learning tools, but those things are not familiar elements for our kids. They will show pictures that has strawberries and this and that. I mean, all those tiny little details, and how to deal with special children's, with patience, with empathy, sympathy. This thing is, I mean, so much new in our subcontinent, because if you look at the cinemas, movies, the jokes are so many jokes are made around mental illness or stupid people. Those are, I mean, those people are actually mentally not capable enough. And now when I look at them, I say, oh my goodness, we have laughed for those jokes for so many times. And I mean, so culturally it's a big shift to show that sympathy and empathy, be kind to them. I think, I mean, it's a big shift for the new generations. Like, so it's new for the parents. I mean, many autistic children's parent have fight with their parents. Like, parents are thinking like, oh, you're not spanking your kid good enough, and that's why he's noisy. You're not a good mother. So those type of things, it's very, very complicated and very emotional. I mean, when we did the work, we got very involved with the parents, with the teachers. Like, they have to do a lot more than just a paid job. It's much more. Yeah, we would like to explore more and hear more about the theories. We are so much at the application level. Yes.
So if you have seen Amir Khan's Hindi movie Tare Zameen Par, I think in Bangladesh you watch Bollywood movies.
Yes,
So
yes.
what you have just told me, this clashes of perspective, he has so kind of grabbed it so well in that movie. And that movie was very, actually it was very effective in bending the narrative in India.
Yes.
So I'm pointing out at these kind of issues where there may be lurking in the, in behind the curtains.
Definitely.
It is important to unearth, because then around those barriers you can develop technology. You cannot change those barriers in one day, but technologies can help you override those barriers, cross those barriers. This is my
Yes,
little...
of course. I mean, I was just thinking, like, just sending a thank you note means so much to someone sometimes. Like, just, it doesn't have to be a special technology. It can be on top of whatever technology we are using. Yes, yeah. There's a lot to do and a lot to think about. Thank you.
Adding to this, Nova, there is this term like which now people are avoiding, but there is this concept of caregivers burden in medical sciences. And that is something which motivated us. From this I'm sharing on the on in connection to what you just said, that a thank you note. So the informal caregivers of people suffering from such prolonged management disease, mental disease, they feel that, nobody appreciates the labor and the pain they go through in managing that relative of theirs. So that was one prominent finding in our research, was that, after going through this much of effort, physiologically also and mentally also, because they suffer from guilt that, we are stopping our father or our daughter, or for that matter, my wife or anybody like close to me from doing anything, or we are shouting at them. We feel bad, but that is required. So nobody appreciates us for what we are doing. So they said, even if at the end of the day we get like, one message of this kind, it's okay, you did a good job for today and tomorrow will be a new day. That they said that, that means world to us, because nobody says that to us. And if something goes wrong, everybody is just going to point fingers on you. You could have done better. So that was one of the prominent findings. Yeah, I just got emotional. I'm sorry.
No. It's so true. I mean, when we started this, sorry, I'm taking too much time. I just wanted to share a small story. When we started the work, we were all with very heavy hearts, and we heard all these stories about stigma. So we went to talk to one mother in one autistic school, and that mother said, like, everybody started to boycott her because her son was very aggressive, so she was not invited to any of the family gatherings and everything. And then they started this special school, which was a military school and very expensive in Bangladesh. And she said, like, I feel like in Bengali we say dozak and behesta, like hell and heaven. She said, like, I moved from hell to heaven because this kid now smiles at me, he calls me mom, and that's so much. And that is the story we want to move on with. I mean, with the negatives, there are so much positive in it.
Right.
All those little things. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So I just want to add one thing, and that is that every HCI student or HCI researcher should read literature, and more importantly in their local languages, because only then you will be able to see the human's condition and the reality of a context, because that will bring forth these issues which you may miss. So I recommend everybody should start reading literature, Bangla, Hindi, whatever.
Yes. I also suggest that we should make movies to make social changes, because research papers just remain in very small domain.
No, actually,
I mean, at least we should communicate to the, change makers, and because it disseminates so much farther.
Yes.
But yes, it should be both-sided. Otherwise, we will just be stuck in that small elite domain.
So true. I plus 1,000 on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that lovely discussion. I think we should close, and then probably after that we can have like an informal discussion. What say, Pranjal?
Before that, Professor Nova, do you have more points on other presentation? Do you love to give more feedback?
We will move. Today we will finish up. It's our last Ramadan. Tomorrow is our Eid. So yes, wishing you all well, and we will catch up soon with you. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye bye. Lovely to see this energetic group. Yes. Very, very lovely. Yes.
This is
Hoping we will stay connected. Yes.
Yes.
And before that, before you go, Professor Nova, shall we include your name in the mentor list?
Please, definitely.
Thank you.
So,
and Anupriyas and Devanoj, shall we do that? Shall we include both of your name as well in the mentor list?
I'm still learning.
Pranjal, do I have a choice?
We need feedback. Yeah,
no
please put your
choice.
Them. Devanoj, please go ahead.
Do I have a choice? No.
No. So we can put on behalf of you.
So Tanya and Pranjal are just asking for the sake of asking.
Yeah, just
courtesy to ask. It was a given that we are giving.
That is there. I mean, yeah. They're so polite, right? Otherwise, they just put it and said. It's important.
Yeah, so such polite bosses I haven't seen.
Okay, I have just a tiny request. Okay, it's just something like, please call me Anupriya or 80. I can't take ma'am. Like, I'm still learning. I'm still a PhD student. I am happy with
No.
Anupriya
I mean,
and
you
80.
have published in this domain so much, and you have been, I mean, trained by the two beloved HCI researchers, big HCI researchers. So hope
But
we
that
should like have this kind of link,
No.
We should keep on this way.
No, that's it. Like, okay, you have three choices. Call me 80, Anupriya, Anu. But no, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Lovely name.
Yeah, I think in this qualitative study, people are doing qualitative studies. So we need, I mean, kind of Nova ma'am, Anupriya, Devanu sir. So these kind of people are a lot in a mental list, right? I don't think people will be having much more quantitative research here. So that
No, definitely we will have that. No, that definitely we will have.
I think most people, I mean, having design background and ethnographics and this. So we definitely need your help. Yeah, at least in this stage.
I need a mentor for quantitative work.
Okay, please. Okay, say to me anytime. Speak to me. Yeah, we have something. So Anupriya, I have something for you. So we will be discussing later. Yeah. Don't worry, I will give you something.
We need to have one session on quantitative as well. That is,
Yeah. So I mean, I look forward to many presentation, not quantitative or quantitative, I would say. So people will say, yeah, I'm biased or something, but I need a mix of mentors, so have both the expertise. So that would be really helpful. And thanks, Numa ma'am, and your team. So you'll be participating and just having this discussion.
Yeah.
So it's very helpful. Yeah.
No, thanks for including in as a part of this team. It's a very dynamic one. We are very
thanks
happy.
to Pranjal.
Yes. Pranjal is the boss.
Yeah.
He's the connector. Yes.
Today morning, I got a very straight message. When you will send the Zoom meeting link to me? From Pranjal. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm just going to have do a small closing note. So yeah, it was a great session, great discussions. A huge shout out to all our presenters today. Research is not a linear process, so we hope that you keep sharing your progress as well as process with us and with all our mentors sitting here today, because I'm sure they too are extremely intrigued by your projects. These projects have huge potential and we hope to be a part of your journey. Before closing, I'd like to thank our audience members and our mentors for joining us today. We hope to see you at our future clinics as well. If you have any suggestions as to improving these sessions, then please, we'd love to hear from you. Next week, we have Dr. Anjum Sheikh, who will be taking a session on how to conduct a literature review. We surely hope to see all of you and more for the session. Same time, just 3:30 Sunday. We will, of course, send you an email regarding the same. Once again, thank you so much. If you would like to have another informal discussion, then feel free to do so.
So I have update for that. So next month we will have a summer school already. I think Pranjal already know about this, and it will be on 12 and 13 June. So Friday and Saturday. So Friday full day and Saturday it will be for half day. So I hope everyone will join there, because we try to gather more HCI researchers, and our keynote speakers are actually Jackie from MSR, Wichen Lee from KAIST, and Ding Wang, she's also from MSR. So, and we will have, we actually want to have a very good event, because this event was actually scheduled in March, but due to COVID-19, we just immediately postponed the session, 1 week earlier. So now we are going to do it in Zoom. So let's see what happens, and you all are welcome. And Eid Mubarak in advance, because tomorrow is our Eid. So yeah.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid
Thank you,
Mubarak
Rahat,
to
for
you.
sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And there is also, I think, Eid today in some part of the Arab countries. So Eid
Yeah.
Mubarak to them as well.
Kabe,
And they could
Kabe
not
is
join
here.
because of that. Let's see. So
So
we
thank
shall,
you, everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Rahat,
you.
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Your presentation is yet to get uploaded on the YouTube. So I have that responsibility to do that. We will do it by tonight.
So sure.
And please follow the mentorship link for any other such present. I think the Excel sheet would work well to present to talk about yourself, and you will find all the details there. Thank you very much.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Eid Mubarak and have a good night. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
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 Bye.